Hey there, new types. Last video before GD04 is released, so I hope you're excited for what this new set could potentially bring. I've been fixated on the Impulse and the Minerva squad since ST09, and I figured why not see if ZAFT really did get a strong enough update and whether or not it finally has a decent engine to bring it forward with Shinn and the Impulse. Today, we're doing something a bit different, showcasing two matches because they're both against strong decks and players, and because both games were fairly quick in reality. As always, if gameplay isn't your interest and all you want is the deck list, feel free to skip to the end of the video where I break down and yap about the deck a little. Honestly, I'm just happy you clicked it all. Shoutouts to my local game stores and the community of players around me that allow me to set up and record these matches to bring the gameplay to everyone here on YouTube. I'd also like to shout out the content creators I tune into regularly. They all make fantastic videos and have their unique takes and playstyles that I love to watch, and I think are valuable resources for anyone looking to better themselves and see the variety of takes from my favorite TCG. If you're curious about them, their channels will be linked in the description below. I highly suggest you check them out when you have the time and interest. If you like what you're seeing here, please consider dropping a like on the video and possibly a subscription to the channel. If you have comments, suggestions, critiques, or simply want to banter, please leave them below as well. I read every single one and I do my best to reply. Now, it's time for ZAFT to attack. Mission start. Alright, so I started the recording here a little bit late, but I lost the dice roll, so I am playing first. My opening hand is a Zaku Warrior, a Hyakurin, Rao, Shinn, and the Blast Impulse. So I draw a Messer, pass the turn. Opponent draws, passes the turn. Get my second resource. Draw a Vesalius, so I'm able to play my Zaku Warrior and pass the turn here. Opponent draws and passes, so I'm not too sure what they have. Either they've stumbled or I'm safe, but I'm going to be aggressive as this is what this deck wants to do. So I play the Vesalius down. Activate it, and then swing at his face, and he close combats it. So I drop the Messer I drew last turn and pass my turn. He plays another resource, draws a card, and passes the turn here. Hopefully not an improved technique. If it is, I'm probably facing blue-red. Get my fourth resource, take a swing, and it's an improved technique. Nothing you can do about it except take it on the chin. Let's see here. I do have 2 units dump onto the board, the Guais and the Zaku Warrior. Just trying to kind of go wide because he only generally has enough to burn out so many things at once. Plays a Show of Resolve, so he's definitely on commands. And then plays a Healthy Curiosity. And then passes the turn. I'm on my level 5 here. I activate Vesalius, take a swing at his EX base, and then take a swing with my Guais to take a shield. I'm just going wide here, dropping a Hyakurin, and then dropping the Blast Impulse. 4 units on board, basically making him have enough removal the next turn to basically stem this bleeding. He does play the Unicorn, not the full armor version, and then plays Menager on it, draws a card. He makes a swing for my Zaku Warrior, and I decide to block with my Blast Impulse, making an actual trade here. 2 for 1 for me. In technicality, I suppose, since he had to get a Menager on that. He does use his EX resource here to play a Mining Asteroid, hoping to stabilize his next turn. I draw another Guais, which is pretty good for me. It lets me play it down, Now, I kind of messed this up a little bit. I didn't actually need to do this, but for some reason, math wasn't mathing in my head. So I play the Yakindue after using my Vesalius on the Guise that was active already. And I just added to that to make it 8 AP. Super unnecessary. I really did not need to do this. Not sure what I was fishing for here, but I end up playing the Rao on the Guise anyways, and breaking his base, then breaking a shield, breaking another shield, and then taking out his last shield, or not last shield, but taking out one final shield for me, hitting a close combat and losing my Zaku warrior in the process. Did forget to kind of do that earlier, but in the state of things, I was bringing back a base from my trash from Rao's Link ability. Being that my opponent used his EX resource, he is now at level 6. So he plays the full armor unicorn mode now, and then Benager on top of it. Draws his card, and then he takes a swing at my rested Guise, the non-linked one, taking 4 to his unicorn. Plays another Healthy Curiosity, and then passes the turn with 1 resource up. So he's got to have a base in that shield there. We will find out very shortly as I take a swing with my Hyakurin, and he does get the mining asteroid in there. I did, however, have an impulse from my top deck, put the Shinn on it, and that basically is game. Nice and quick. ZAFT high rolled. Alright, so I've rolled Snake Eyes to my opponent's 3, losing this handily, and basically going first as a result. I opt to keep my 5 here, being a pretty good one, and I also know my opponent is on wing here. So I keep a Jin, Hyakurin, Messer, Izak, and Blast. They're all pretty good, and in general, I like having the 4/3s to break Lefritz and at least threaten Rick Diaz's here. My opponent does know what I'm playing, so they were in the tank for whether or not they keep their opening hand or not. They did throw it back eventually and opt to try again. All right, well, we get all of our shields laid out, and I get my resource, draw my card, and we get this party started. Opponent plays a resource and passes. I draw a second card, play my resource, and then play my Jin. Pass my turn. Opponent gets to level 3, and he plays a dreaded Lefrith for me. So I am missing this attack turn. Even if I had a Vesalius at this point, it wouldn't have done me too well. So I just play a Messer and pass. Opponent plays a Zawart and then passes the turn over to me. There's that Vesalius I wanted. So holding 2 Messers and a Hyakurin allows me to play at a fairly good curve here. I take a swing with my Messer, just getting that Zaward out of the way. And then I play 2 more Messers and pass my turn. My opponent's follow-up here is with a Rick Diaz and then a Striker pack. And he pulls out a Launcher Strike. But that is a very, very good response to me filling the board. Luckily, I have 2 Messers, and I'm going to get some favorable trades here. Or not even trades, just some favorable exchanges. So I take a swing with the Messer. He blocks it with the Rick Diaz. I take another swing and get his EX base. which likely means he has another base in hand, which, Wing usually does at this point. So I play Blast, and I play Hyakurin, and I pass the turn from there. Opponent goes to their level 6 turn. And there is the Peace Million base I suspected they had, given I just got their EX. They play the Wing Gundam, no hero. So that I'm at level 6, and my opponent is going to be on their level 7 turn next turn. I have basically committed most of my playable hand to this, so I need to start. I need to basically go all in here, in my mind at least. I play the Yakindue, give my Blast the +3 AP, get a Vesalius, which is basically perfect for my all-in plan here. I need this locked down before level 8, so I take a swing with the 8 AP Blast. He gives me his Launcher Strike. So after doing some math and deciding a proper order of operations, I play my Impulse out. Play Shinn down, making Impulse a 6/3. And I go for his base once more, and ready a resource because of Shinn's ability. Opponent does block. So they do lock me into my next train of thought here, getting him down to as little shields as possible. So with 2 Vesalius in hand, it's either Vesalius plus Izak onto a unit, or I go double Vesalius. And I do 1 Vesalius first, just to see what card I get. And I use the ability on the Messer, and rather than dump my pilot, I use another Vesalius just to get another card, and I make Messer a 6 AP. My logic is because I have Izak. So I break his Peace Million, and then I break a shield, and I break another shield. And then I drop a Zaku Warrior. So that's 6 units on board before his Wing 0 turn. For me, this is where I want to be. He can only realistically take out 2 units, but if he's got, blocker, I could be in trouble with only 3 up, so I'd need a link in order to potentially close this out. Currently, I don't have that in hand, but I need to push him as hard as I can, because honestly, I'd committed at level 5, right? My playable hand. And as I was saying earlier, I have Izak in hand. If I top deck one of my 3 duels, I have the ability to refill my board after a Wing 0 if I'm unable to just get there. So slightly playing ahead, especially when the bet is already an all-in play here. So opponent is leery of my Impulse here. So he takes it out because it is the one unit that can just kill a base if it gets through. Does get the breach on my Vesalius. Opponent does eventually commit to a Wing Gundam with a hero. Going into my Messer, and then breaching. And then he passes the turn. I'm believing that with all the thought process he had there, he has an unforeseen in hand. So I would just go slow here. Take a swing with my Jin. He lets it through, hoping it's a shield or maybe a base rather. He uses Unforeseen on my other Saku warrior there, and then I go Hyakurin and Blast into his 2 remaining shields. And I did top deck the Shinn, so I got to play Destiny with the Shinn for the closeout. All right. Hopefully those matches weren't too quick or too lopsided. Honestly, the deck played the way it needed to play. There's obviously a bit of high rolling there, but again, this is a typical aggro deck, right? 8 2/2s, and then all gas, no brakes in a lot of the cases. Not too much to say here. I think most people should be familiar with the ZAFT cards that are being run, notably the Providence Gundam and Rao the Crusade. I use the Guai's Commander as a 4 of and the Providence as a 3 of with 4 Raos, and I think that is probably correct because you can also put it on the duel. Going forward, I do think that maybe Rao and the Providence and the potentially some of the Guais, I don't know what it is. Potentially those guys get cut because the Minerva squad is looking pretty strong and Destiny is looking to be a little bit less burn, in my opinion, and more mid-range value. Now, I think that Izak is good as a 2 of, and I think Duel is also very strong. And as I mentioned before, going forward, the deck shifts more into a lower curve mid-range deck with value. So Duel is going to get more cards it can hit. Currently running the 8, purple Rizal, red Rizal with the Hyakurin and the Messer, they do whiff your duels. One of my matches that I still won ended up whiffing on my second duel and didn't feel too good. I literally saw a Hyakurin and 2 Messers, and that's just what happens sometimes, and you don't get to see your cards get played. The ZAFT tagging on the cards, like the Impulse package, is very good in general. So when I'm able to replace the Hyakurin and the Messer, they will probably end up helping me out in terms of having cards I want to be playing over them, right? Because again, they do lack the ZAF synergies. They are the best statted vanilla bodies in the game, in my opinion. 4/3 is a very impressive stat line, especially when it costs 2 for level 3. As you saw, I was able to play it in the second game very well on curve. Definitely a virtue, but also they are vanillas. They come on the board and they need another turn to become active. And as you saw, any poor amount of tempo on my part could have cost me the game against Wing. I was able to double play a lot of cards and keep my board wide, threaten my opponent. But if he, say, had tripled Rick Diaz instead of Lefrith and Launcher Strike, I would have been in a tighter position, I think. I will say that the Providence and Rao and Guays felt more like a gimmick, but the Guays actually felt stronger than the Providence overall. Mostly because the Providence's ping almost never really mattered with how fast this deck generally runs. A lot of the times it was just a fat body that maybe I was finishing off a card, but in a lot of cases, this deck is turning things sideways and going for face. The base split, I am a little torn on. I think when I go to having more Minerva squad, there's a potential that I do maybe want +1 Vesalius because I will be losing the Hyakurins and the Messers going forward. I'd also like to up the blast impulse numbers. There's also a very high possibility that with the Minerva squad and, Rao leaving with the Providence and lowering the Guays, I will be adding in sword strikes or something like that. I do really like Blast's 5/3 body, and I do think with Destiny, Blast gets even stronger because if you can protect Destiny well enough, that card is going to go crazy in the matchups. Will Destiny be the ultimate direction of this build? For me, it probably will be, no matter what, even if it changes the tempo. I do think that I'll probably have to slow the deck down quite a bit more to play into that mid-range tempo that Destiny is going to want. Because getting to Destiny and protecting your Destiny and like a Protect the Queen sort of deck is probably how it's going to be run because value. Impulse is a very good card. You didn't really get to see a lot of it in these showcases, but it does do a lot in bringing back things that you want to protect. such as bringing back the blast when you want to protect your Providence. That does happen more often than not, especially against other decks, like longer prolonged matches against blue-white, for instance, where you are playing with more incremental value or playing for more of a tempo, right? Just trying to seize the tempo and eventually building up to points where you can just drop down the duel and an Ezak or duel and putting a Shin on it for some or something like that, just to get that extra card off the top of your deck and go wide with another body is going to be important. I will also say that Impulse bringing back Force Impulse when you can is another really strong tool. I have actually gone to a point a few times in testing, especially where Impulse with Ezak has not felt that bad either. You can swing, kill something, and then bring it back, put it on the bottom of your deck and bring back something, right? If you happen to have it in there. Very, very fun. Very, I think very potent. As you saw, this deck high rolls very well. It took out two very well built and well piloted meta decks in green white wing and blue red commands. But I don't think I'm going to ramble too much more about the deck. As we know, this is basically GDO 3.5, less than a week away from GDO4, where this deck list probably changes entirely. Now, this is probably a good showcase of what a lot of the ZAFT parts can do, and also the potential of just running those 4/3 vanillas in future ZAFT as a low to the ground mid range deck with the Minerva squad. But I don't think you will need them. So consider them proxies for now, and just look at how well this deck did with a fairly low curve and a very aggressive strategy. I do highly encourage you to tune your deck the way you want, and I do think now that having played enough ZAFT and testing and with this recent showing, getting the locals victory with this, I do think that ZAFT has options. You can play it into a control, into a very low to the ground aggro, unga bunga, more mid range aggro like this build is, or like a mid range control with Providence and Destiny and the Luna Maria and Ray. I do want to highlight one other thing here. Shinn is an incredible pilot. I think people didn't really like the 0 HP, but throwing Shinn on a lot of things has won me many games, and it has been an excellent base breaker. So don't sleep on him if you have been. I think he only just gets better with Destiny and the way the Minerva squad is going to work going forward. Now, is Minerva squad going to be a very powerful package? I'm not convinced. I think maybe it's still a set away from greatness. I think GD05, if there's more Minerva squad support, will probably help round it out into a certain direction, whether that is a tempo-based control or a very aggressive aggro list that you are now just playing Destiny and Force Impulse for value. But that's enough yapping. I will see you guys in the GD04 era. Thanks for watching. Bye.